All set. Welcome to this Be Red Cross Ready presentation. Thank you for your interest in joining us today. My name is Donna Honor, and our host is Jose Bueno. My co-presenter is Linda Collis, and our chat room monitor is Tom Long. Today, we will be talking briefly about preparedness essentials and hurricanes. Next slide. Some important housekeeping to start with. If you have any questions at any time, wiggle your cursor in the middle of the screen and your selection bar will appear. Click on the little cartoon-like speech box and that will open the chat area on the right side of your screen. Our monitor will relay your questions at certain times in the program. Be sure to mute your devices so microphone feedback does not occur. That can be done on the same selection bar by clicking on the microphone symbol on the left. If you are a Red Cross volunteer, be sure to enter an hour for attending this virtual training. Put it in Volunteer Connection under Submitting Hours. Enter any virtual hours volunteering you have otherwise been doing as well. It all counts, including phone calls with your supervisors and reading Red Cross email alerts and informational emails. Next slide. Linda, get us started.
Okay. What you're seeing is a map of the United States and its areas. And every year, communities across the United States and around the world face natural hazards. We have tsunamis, volcanoes, hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, and winter storms. There are landslides, mudslides, infestation, droughts, and wildfires. In addition to that, home fires impact thousands of households. In our region, experience tells us that we will face a number of hazards that can have huge impact on individuals in the community. Notice the light green color of Florida. Matching it to the boxes below shows us that we are prone to hurricanes and tornadoes. Next slide. Odds are that disaster will strike. The fact is that disasters happen. They happen with little or no warning. They can affect any community. They can happen anywhere and at any time. It's a disaster if normal response systems are overwhelmed, property is damaged or destroyed, and people are hurt. In our area, we try to prepare for fires, hurricanes, flooding, thunderstorms, tornadoes, earthquakes, and currently our new disaster, COVID-19. Today, we are going to address the preparedness essentials for any and all of these emergencies and help you be Red Cross ready. Next slide. In any of the disasters that we've talked about, a lot of people assume that someone else will be there to help. However, resources just aren't there to support everyone immediately. First responders, disaster organizations, government agencies, and hospital emergency rooms do their best. But on average, these groups are staffed and prepared for normal day-to-day operations, and resources may be limited during a disaster. The truth is, we have to depend on ourselves first. Why? Because roads may be impassable, utilities may be unavailable, hospitals and first responders could be overwhelmed. And banks, grocery stores, gas stations, pharmacies, schools, and workplaces may be closed for days. You may also need to help others, such as members of your household, neighbors, or those who have functional or access needs. Do not count on receiving help right away. Next slide. You can prepare. All of us can and should be prepared to help ourselves and our households. Will preparation be perfect? No. Will preparation make things quick, easy, or painless? Not always, but planning and preparation will help you to be safe and recover quickly. What does it mean to be prepared? If anyone would like to place in the chat line their idea of what being prepared is, we would appreciate it. When we are prepared, we are usually more resilient after the event has passed. We can take protective actions to be safe. We can react in the right way. We can adapt to tough challenges, and we can recover more quickly from difficulties. Next slide. We want you to be Red Cross ready. So what does it take to be prepared? Preparing ahead of time helps you stay safe, adapt to the challenges better, and recover more quickly. There's 3 things to be Red Cross ready you need to do. Number 1, get a kit. We want you to assemble 2 kits of emergency supplies and 1 month's supply of prescription medication. There are 2 types of kits. There's the go bag with supplies you can easily carry with you if you have to evacuate, like a backpack, a pillowcase, or a gym bag. The other type of kit is when you have to shelter in place or for a long-term evacuation. It could be a plastic bin, a suitcase, or a trunk. You want to start with the basic supply list you can find on the redcross.org. Customize your kits to meet your needs. One of the first items that should go into it is copies of your documents and contact lists. Then start thinking about water, food, flashlight, radio, and battery. The second thing to be prepared is you need to make a plan. Identify the steps you would need to take to respond to specific disasters. For each disaster, decide who in your household will do what, where you will go, and how you will communicate with each other. And the last part of being Red Cross ready in preparation is be informed. It is important that you are informed. Learn now about how you can get information in a disaster occurs and what resources are available in your community. This will allow you to quickly respond to help yourself, your household, and your community. Now, let's look at each of these in more detail. Next slide. So this slide is about get a kit. If a disaster strikes, you might not have access to food, water, electricity, a medical facility, or even a drugstore. Preparing a disaster kit for your household is an important step to keep everyone safe and healthy during a disaster. To build your kit, think about what you would use on a daily basis and what you might do if those resources were limited or not available. Basic supplies include flashlight, battery-operated radios, non-perishable food, and a can opener. Remember, we need 1 gallon of water per person per day, half for drinking and half for sanitation. You may need more than that depending on the specific needs of those in your household and the environment you live. Supplies for every member of your household, especially medications and any life-sustaining items that members of your household need to maintain health, safety, and independence. Remember your important documents such as driver's license. You want to have a change of clothing. You want to have a blanket, paper and pens. You want amusements for your children and yourself. And don't forget supplies for your pets. You want an extra set of vehicle keys and house keys. Important. Remember, you may be without electricity and you may only have the amount of water that you have stored. Your shelter-in-place supplies should be planned for at least 3 days, but it's even better if you can gather supplies to last for 2 weeks. The evacuation or go bag should be a lightweight, smaller version that you can take with you if you have to leave your home quickly. It should contain everything that you would need to be on your own for 3 days. Customize the kits to meet everyone's personal needs and the disasters that are common to your area. Next slide. Now we're going to talk about make a plan. Include the right details. Your plan should include key details. Identify 2 ways to evacuate from every room in your home. 2 ways to leave your neighborhood or your town, depending on how big the disaster is. Plan what to do in case you are separated during a disaster. You need to choose 2 places to meet. One right outside your home in case of a sudden emergency, such as a home fire, and one outside your neighborhood in case you cannot return home or you are asked to evacuate. Don't forget to consider any transportation challenges that might be encountered by individuals who use mobility-assisted equipment or those who don't have access to a vehicle. An important part of your disaster plan is how you will communicate, especially if those in your household are separated when the disaster hits. Make sure every family member, including your children, have contact details for everyone and that they keep that information with them at all times. Determine now, ahead of time, what important records you will need and where they should be stored, such as in a safety deposit box or a fireproof box. Remember, it's a good idea to keep copies in your kit. If you are without power for an extended period of time or have a home fire and must evacuate, it will be important to have a place to stay. It's a good idea to find a place close. If you're impacted by something like a hurricane, flood, or tornado, you may have to find someplace further away. If the authorities encourage you to shelter in place, ensure that all household members are aware of any actions they must take and where in the home they should go. Once you have your plans developed, we want you to practice, practice, and practice. Review plans with everyone in your household. If anyone has a caregiver, be sure to review that plan with them as well. Next slide. The next part is be informed. We talked a little bit about being informed and how important it is to know what hazards you should prepare for. But there is more to it. It's an ongoing process. Here are some of the things you should do. Know how your community warns of a coming disaster. Some communities have outdoor sirens. Others depend on media and smartphones to alert residents of severe weather or dangerous events. Use a NOAA weather radio or listen to a local station on a battery-powered radio or television for updated information. This allows you access to important information even if the power is out. You may also want to consider having a list of the local stations in your disaster kit. Important. Understand the difference between a watch and a warning and how to respond to each. A watch means there is a potential for a specific type of weather event or hazard. Be alert. Pull out your kit. Complete preparations. Monitor the weather and local emergency broadcasts, and be ready to take immediate action if the condition worsens. A warning means that a specific type of severe weather or hazard is imminent or already occurring. You should take immediate action to protect yourself when a warning is issued. You want to learn about an area before you travel there. Know what disaster risks they face and how to protect yourself. For instance, when visiting an area known for earthquakes, know what to do when the shaking starts, and importantly, after it stops. Download the Red Cross Emergency app. It lets you monitor 35 different severe weather and emergency alerts. It's a free app. Know your neighbors. They can be good resources of community information, or if someone needs help. Ella, do we have any questions in the chat line?
No, we don't. But we do have a couple of links. If anyone is interested, they'll be able to go back and look at the links later on and copy them in. I think it's more important they focus on the slides that you're covering right now as we go along.
Okay.
No questions, though.
Thank you. Let's go to the next slide. We're going to talk about tools that are valuable. We talked a lot about important information today, and I want to make sure you don't forget about all the tools that are available to help you, your loved ones, and your community prepare for disaster. If you have any questions, just put them in the chat line. Ella's monitoring it. We want you to download the Red Cross Emergency and the Red Cross First Aid apps to your mobile devices. And we offer an app called Monster Guard for your children. These apps provide you with vital information in the event of a disaster and are available in the app stores for free. There's another app. It's the Red Cross Safe and Well website is available in Spanish. Just like your plan, practice using the Safe and Well website. Once registered, you have the option of updating your Facebook and Twitter feeds. Create and copy the contact cards to make sure everyone in your household can reach someone if a disaster strikes. Remember, you can't count on technology alone. Phones break or lose their charge. Cell coverage goes out and phone lines become overwhelmed. Be sure you think about how you will communicate if these things become available. And just a reminder, the disaster the Red Cross responds to most frequently, every 8 minutes, is home fires, and many of which could have been avoided. Please watch our previous session about essentials and home fires on YouTube. I'm going to ask Tom, do we have anything on the chat line?
No, we don't. We just have a few little comments about, as Ella said, links to go to, but no questions so far.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Okay, I am ready to turn this over to my partner, Jana.
What is a hurricane? Hurricanes are large storm systems that form over oceans, including the Gulf of Mexico, and often move toward land. They are also known as typhoons in the western Pacific Ocean. They cause highly destructive winds, heavy rain, storm surges, we will talk about this shortly, high surf and rip currents, including flooding, and even tornadoes. Next slide. Hurricanes begin as areas of low pressure with rotating winds. A tropical depression has sustained winds below 39 miles per hour. A tropical depression is upgraded to a tropical storm when sustained winds, note the sustained, are consistently above 39 miles per hour, but no higher than 73 miles per hour. That means there is gusts higher than that. When a storm reaches the tropical storm status, it receives a name. While hurricanes pose a greater threat to life and property, tropical storms and depressions can also be devastating. A storm surge is an abnormal rise of water that flows over land that is usually dry, even up to more than 28 feet above normal. Think Katrina. Storm surges can impact hundreds of miles of coastline and can travel several miles inland, resulting in widespread damage and dangerous conditions. Next slide. The amount of damage inflicted by a hurricane is usually connected to its strength. Once maximum sustained winds reach 74 miles per hour or higher, the named storm becomes a hurricane. Hurricanes are referred to as Category 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 storms, depending upon the maximum sustained winds. A Category 5 storm is the highest, with sustained wind speeds of 157 miles per hour or higher, plus higher gusts. Central Florida's worst damages came from Hurricane Matthew in 2016. And it was still only a strong tropical cyclone at the time. 1 million homes lost power, coastal homes and Route A1A received major damages that took 3 years to repair. Dorian in 2019 again threatened the East Coast and major evacuation orders were issued. As there is in the chat room a statement, you should know your flood zone. And those evacuation orders were issued after it left the Caribbean islands and especially the Bahamas with devastating damages from flooding and storm surges, with 74 deaths and 245 people still missing. Next slide. The Atlantic Ocean hurricane season in places such as Florida or South Carolina or the Caribbean is from June through November. Peak activity occurs from mid-August to late October. In the Central Pacific Ocean region, including Hawaii, hurricane season is also June through November. But in the Eastern North Pacific, including the open ocean off of California, hurricane season starts in mid-May. Despite having defined hurricane seasons, it is possible for hurricanes to occur outside those seasons and outside of the normal hurricane-prone regions. Slide, next slide. The effects of hurricanes are often devastating to people, animals, property, transportation, and utilities. People are injured or killed, primarily due to drowning in storm surges and flooding and by flying debris. Pets and livestock face the same risk. Remember, storm surges happen when water, for example, canals, waterways, oceans, rivers, streams, and lakes, is blown by the hurricane out of the area it normally resides in onto land that is usually dry. The results are homes, buildings, and roads damaged or destroyed. Communications, water, power, and gas service are disrupted for days or weeks. And water, including tap water, may become polluted. Wildlife may be forced to relocate to populated areas due to flooding or destruction of their natural habitats. This can increase the risk to people, pets, and livestock. Our home backs up to a natural swamp. And after Hurricane Matthew, we had several uninvited guests in our lawn, bushes, and garage. And remember, hurricanes don't just impact coastal communities. The effects of these storms can extend several hundred miles inland. Next slide. A hurricane watch means that hurricane conditions, sustained winds of 74 miles per hour or higher, are possible within a specified area. During a hurricane watch, do those last preparations for your home and area around your home. Prepare your go kit, that's the quickie one, and check the supplies in your larger shelter in place kit, especially water, food, pet needs, and medical needs. Review your plans for evacuation in case hurricane or tropical storm warnings are issued. Listen closely to instructions from local officials. If told to evacuate, leave the threatened area immediately. This is why your kits, communication lists, and papers must be ready to go. A hurricane warning indicates that hurricane conditions, sustained winds of 74 miles per hour or higher, and higher wind gusts are expected sometime within the specified area, usually within 36 hours, and that is not enough time to prepare and evacuate. Next slide. In review, enhance your kits during the watch time. Some examples are: have at least a 7-day supply of prescription medicines and medical supplies, along with copies of prescriptions, a list of all medications and dosages, a list of allergies, and a list of dietary restrictions. If you have a service animal, be sure to include food, water, identification tags, and supplies for them. Include battery backup power for power-dependent mobility devices, oxygenators, and other assistive technology needs. Tools and supplies for securing your home. Rain gear for each household member and sleeping bags for evacuation. Tailor your disaster plan for what you and your household will do during a hurricane. This includes your pets. Learn your community's evacuation plan and identify several posted routes to leave the area. For information, call the Department of Transportation or check the Office of Emergency Management websites to find several evacuation routes near you. Remember, some of them may get blocked. Know where you will meet up or rally with members of your household if you are separated. Know where you will stay if you have to evacuate. Look for motels and emergency shelters in your local area and along your evacuation routes. If you don't have your own transportation, plan for how you will get to a safe place. Before a hurricane, it is also a good idea to place any important documents such as insurance policies or birth certificates and other valuables in a waterproof container to help keep them dry and easily accessible. Consider using a fire and water resistant lockable box or a bank safe deposit box. Also consider saving electronic copies of pictures or documents. Finally, be sure you can stay informed by having access to emergency radio broadcasts. Have a battery-powered or hand-cranked radio. It is very common to experience power, cellular, and internet outages during and after a hurricane. If needed, there are weather radios with text display and a flashing alert to stay informed. You may also sign up in advance to receive emergency notification from your local emergency services. Next slide. This is a review slide, but I want to highlight a couple of points. Each family member and pet needs 1 gallon of stored water per day. Why? Because city water pumps do not work without electricity, so your taps will be dry or contaminated. If your car is how you will evacuate, make sure the gas tank is full. Gas pumps do not work without electricity, and the gas station tanks empty quickly and they don't get more. Make sure you have enough cash on hand to meet expected expenses. Again, ATMs and credit debit machines do not work without electricity, and they also can get empty, and people cannot get to the bank to refill them. Keep track of where members of your household are so you can quickly get everyone together in order to leave as quickly as possible when told to evacuate. Next slide. To prepare your home, turn off propane tanks and unplug small and large appliances and your computers. Move anything that could be picked up by the wind, such as bicycles, toys, flower pots, trash cans, or patio furniture indoors. If it's unsafe to bring it inside or it's too large, secure the item. Much of the damage to homes is due to flying debris. You have to picture your wonderful barbecue hitting your front window at 100 miles per hour or higher. If you are in an area without an evacuation notice and you live in a mobile home, plan on relocating to a sturdy building. Tornadoes can be embedded in hurricanes, and trailers cannot stand up to high winds, even with straps. Move livestock to a safe area. If you still have time, if your home is subject to flooding, again, know your flood zone, move furniture and valuables to higher floors inside your home. Turn off utility lines outside only if you are ordered to do so by authorities. Be aware that if you shut off your gas main, a professional is the only one who can turn it back on, and there might be a very long wait to get this done. Their priorities will be turning off damaged lines and repairing hospital, fire, emergency service facilities, and so on first. Next slide. Protect your home now. Invest in permanent storm shutters or purchase plywood that is at least 5/8 of an inch thick and cut to fit your doors and windows ahead of time. That will save you a lot of time in those last-minute preparations. Set aside a place to store outdoor items such as lawn furniture, gardening tools, trash cans, and toys in an area that is protected from both wind and rain. Trim or remove trees that are close enough to fall on buildings. You should also consider buying flood insurance. Typically, homeowners insurance doesn't cover flooding, one of the major impacts of a hurricane. To get more information on flood insurance, go to www.floodsmart.gov. Next slide. When a hurricane hits, stay indoors. It will be safe to be outside, especially on beaches, riverbanks, or in floodwaters, despite all those viral videos that you see on your phone and TV. Stay away from windows and glass doors. If you lose power, use flashlights to see in the dark. Never use candles. Continue listening to NOAA radio and local radio and TV stations for updates. Avoid contact with floodwater, which may be contaminated with sewage or contain dangerous insects, reptiles, or animals. Next slide. If you find yourself in this situation because you were unable to evacuate in time or because you need emergency help, remember the following about flooded areas. Don't walk, swim, or drive through floodwaters. Just 6 inches of fast-flowing water can knock a very large man over, and 12 inches can sweep away a car. I once was working on a disaster where a gentleman, I was there ready with a Red Cross blanket to wrap around him after they rescued him from a tree where he ended up about 25 feet up in the air, where he landed after floodwaters from a stream ripped him out of his semi-cab and ripped all his clothes off and pat him up there in that tree. It is almost impossible to determine how much standing water is in an area experiencing heavy rains or a hurricane. So watch out for those low areas. Underpasses, dips, low spots, canyons, and washes can rapidly fill with water without warning. If you do get caught on a flooded road with rapidly rising waters, get out of the vehicle quickly and move to higher ground. Remember, turn around, don't drown. Taking that route or staying with your car isn't worth the risk. Next slide. Once the hurricane has passed, check for injuries and then let friends and family know that you're safe. Stay out of any building that has water around it. When inside your home, don't walk across sagging floor that could collapse. Watch for rodents, snakes, spiders, and insects that may have entered your home. Avoid pushing or leaning against walls and furniture that have been damaged. If the weather is dry, open windows and doors for the fresh air to help your home dry out. This is important when dealing with mold, a serious health risk following a flood. It is particularly harmful to children under 12, anyone with asthma, allergies, or other breathing conditions, and people with weakened immune systems. Continue to take care of yourself and members of your household. If you are uncertain of the quality of your water, use bottled water. Throw out food that is in a flooded refrigerator or one without electricity longer than a short while. Throw out canned food, whether homemade canning or commercial cans, that has been submerged in floodwaters. Floodwaters put approximately 4 pounds of pressure per square inch on those cans and jars. Germs are microscopic and only need a microscopic hole or gap for those pounds of pressure to push them through and into the foods and spoil them. Pay attention to how you and your loved ones are experiencing and handling stress. Help people who need additional assistance, including infants, older adults, those without transportation, individuals with functional or access needs, and the people who care for them. If you had to evacuate, only return home once local authorities have said it is safe to do so. Remember your pets too. After storms, the number of animal injuries increases due to debris. So watch animals closely and keep them under your direct leash control. If you encounter an abandoned pet, even a neighborhood abandoned pet that you know, use caution. The combination of confused dogs and stressed people increases the incidence of dog bites. Be sure to stay informed by listening to local news or a NOAA weather radio for updated information and instructions. Next slide. If you've had to evacuate, and when local authorities say it is safe to return to your neighborhood to inspect your home for the first time, there are some general things you should keep in mind. Consider whether or not you should bring the children. It may be unsafe for them, and seeing the damage may add to the stress they are already experiencing. It may be better to leave them with a trusted relative or friend the first time you return home. Keep well away from loose or downed power lines and report them immediately to the power company. Once you get to your home, be sure to wear protective gear, including gloves and boots, eye protection, a dust mask or respirator, and a hard hat if you have one. If conditions are safe and you use protective gear, you can make temporary repairs to cover holes, brace walls, and remove debris. If power is out, use a flashlight. Do not use any open flames, including candles. If you have a generator, be familiar with the operating instructions and take precautions to avoid carbon monoxide poisoning, electrocution, and fire. You can find additional information about generators and proper use on the American Red Cross website. And remember your generator when you're filling your car's gas tank. You should have brought a gas can's worth of gas and filled your generator and refilled that travel gas can because you may not be able to get any more gas once the hurricane goes by. And without gas, a generator is worthless. If you smell natural or propane gas or hear a hissing noise, leave immediately and get far away from your home. Call the fire department once you have reached safety. Finally, take pictures of any damage and save all receipts associated with cleanup and repairs. You will likely need them for insurance purposes. Next slide. Recovering from a disaster can be a long process, and you will need to learn about how to clean up, including the supplies you'll need and how to make repairs. Go to the American Red Cross Disaster Relief and Recovery Services website or download the emergency app to learn more about how to clean up. Our local or Florida's website is also there on the screen. These apps will tell you more about how to clean up, assess your situation, make repairs, and find links to resources. And remember, the apps are available for free through the app and Google Play stores. Tom, do we have any questions?
Yes, we do. Where can we get a hold of a hurricane safety checklist?
That would be available on that Red Cross Ready, Central Florida Red Cross Ready, or the redcross.org Get Help Disaster Relief and Recovery Services. All of those have availables. The emergency apps will have it on the phone apps as well.
Okay, and a comment that I think is a very good comment. It says, for goodness sake, do not leave hurricane shutters up year-round. They can trap you inside a burning home. Use them for a storm, then take them down. So I think that was...
That's a wonderful point. And also, if you don't like mold in your home, get them down and let that light in.
Yeah. Okay, one more comment. It says that sustaining winds from a hurricane means for a period of at least 1 minute. So
Correct.
That's it.
All right.
Okay.
We hope you enjoyed this Be Red Cross Ready Preparedness virtual presentation. Remember to be ready, get a kit, make a plan, and be informed. CDC, cover your face with masks and use elbow sneezes. Distance yourself 6 feet from others and clean by washing your hands often and for 20 seconds to protect yourself from COVID-19. Per Red Cross National Headquarters update calls, there has been over 29,000 plus new cases of COVID-19 daily. That's daily for the last 6 weeks. We have not peaked yet, but only flattened. We still need to be doing CDC. Keep your family safe from fires by doing fire drills at home and testing your smoke alarms monthly, as you only have 2 minutes to get out. Designate a family meeting place away from the home, but in the front, so the fire companies can know you are all out. Get out, stay out, and only then dial 911 after you are at your meeting place. Next slide. Central Florida region helps you be Red Cross ready. Please join us for another Lunch and Learn Tuesday from 12 to 1 Eastern Time Zone and a repeat presentation of the week's topics on Thursdays from 5 to 6 Eastern Time Zone. In the next 3 weeks, we are going to be repeating our first 3 topics. The first one was essentials and COVID-19. The second week from now will be essentials and fire safety. And then we will repeat again, essentials and hurricane safety. In the future, some of our topics could include tornadoes and thunderstorms and lightning or children's preparedness. Also, please consider taking a Red Cross first aid class or becoming a Red Cross volunteer. This series of Red Cross presentations were all prepared and delivered by Red Cross volunteers. Together, we can help our community be prepared for any disaster. If you'd like more information about this or anything else the Red Cross provides, please check out www.redcross.org. Tom, did any last questions sneak in there?
Not really. Just some comments about, again, a repeat, over 29,000 new cases of COVID-19 every day for the past 6 weeks.
That's an average nationally.
Yeah. So that's all we have for right now.
Okay. Then next slide. Thank you for joining Jose Bueno, our slideshow running guru, my co-presenter Linda Collis, our chat room monitor Tom Long and Ella Landegger, and myself today. Stay safe and stay well.